All right, front wheels pulled off, getting ready to do these front springs. So I need to unbolt the sway bar end link. I need to undo these clips for the brake line and the ABS sensor, and then go ahead and loosen up the bolts here for the struts. So basically what we're gonna do is unbolt the top strut mount, let the control arm down with the jack to basically relieve the tension on this spring. So we're just gonna slowly let it down, and then we should be able to just pivot it out of there. So basically unbolting the strut and taking the top hat off at the same time. All right, so I have the sway bar end link disconnected. I unbolted the brake line, a little 10mm bolt there. I removed, there's just a little plastic clip down here for the ABS sensor pigtail. These bolts, the strut bolts, are loose. I already have the nut off this top one. It's just sitting in there. So now I'm gonna break loose this top strut bolt, and then hopefully get this thing out of here. So. So got that backed off. Then we're going to go ahead and lower down that control arm with a jack. So I need both hands so I don't murder myself. All right, this is pretty terrifying. I'm not gonna do it this way again. But I basically have a jack under the control arm so it can't just pop apart. Got the top bolt completely out. So then we're just gonna lower the jack until we get all the tension off of that spring. So that's the plan, at least. So, all right. No tension on the spring. So go ahead and get this out of here. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this bottom bolt out and go ahead and pull the strut completely out. All right, strut's out. Again, terrifying, all right? I would invest in some of the spring compressors that's gonna like clip on here, you know, to you tighten down the spring, then you can pull the top hat off. This way is freaking terrifying. So struts out. Again, be careful up here not to get too much tension on your brake line if you're gonna drop the control arm down. So go ahead and get these springs swapped out. Actually, first of all, let's go compare this with one of the new springs. Boom, old spring. Get down here, our box of goodies. One of these new springs out. Wrong end of the bag. All right. Nice blue color. All right, here we go. Yeah, that's a lot shorter, so that should be a lot easier to go back in. When we put it on the strut, you want to make sure that you have this little pigtail lined up with there should be an index point on the strut. Go ahead and look over here. Yeah, see here. It's gonna sit in the end of that. All right, so you want to make sure you get the spring put in the correct spot. And also we're gonna swap out the bump stop on this one too. If I can get this pulled off with one hand. YouTube people that can do all this stuff one-handed, you guys are the real heroes. I don't know where that went. Of course, the other side of the car. All right, so I got the spring sitting on here. Got the bump stop put on. It goes underneath the dust boot. Got the dust boot put back on. So went ahead and pulled the, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Pulled the top strut mount off. in preparation for the Maximum Motorsports adjustable camber plates. Here they are, getting them unboxed. I gotta sit down and read through the instructions, make sure I don't screw it up. So in a few minutes, and then we will be back. All right, so I'm working my way through the instructions here. I got the camber plates. They're loosely assembled. It comes with these rubber bands to kind of hold it together while you assemble it. These are the spacers, nuts here. These are the upper spring cups. So one thing of note, it actually comes with this little this note in with the studs. It says do not, or only torque to 20 foot-pounds because they will break. And I think I remember reading something about that on the forum as well. Somebody's studs broke off of there, so keep that in mind. Also wants you to reuse this upper spring isolator off of the stock strut mount, so you can see where the top of the spring is going to fit right here. So you just, I guess, basically get a pry bar, and this thing should just slip off of here, and then we're going to put it on top of the spring. So I'm going to get that pulled off, and then on to the next thing. All right, so I chickened out, went and bought some spring compressors, trying to put the camber plate on by hand, and just couldn't compress the spring enough by hand. I guess I lost too much weight. So plus I need to gotta get these spacers seated into this bearing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use the compressor, do it the right way, not murder myself when the spring blows up in my face. So it'll make getting the other side off easier too. So I'll get that thrown on and move on to the other side. All right, so I got the first spring installed with the strut mount on, or the cast camber plate, excuse me. Lot smoother with the spring compressor. So I would highly recommend you just get a set of those. It was 40 bucks at O'Reilly's, worth it. You'll have it forever. You won't have to rent one. So yeah, get spring compressor. So I'm gonna get this one thrown back on the car, and then go ahead and knock out the other side with the spring compressor. I'm not gonna do it the same way I did this side. All right, so this side is loosely back together. I still need to torque the strut bolts. I need to completely tighten the sway bar end link, and I need to tighten the bolts up here. I'm gonna wait until I set it on the ground. That way we can do, get it aligned somewhat. Here you can see how how much movement this has. All right, that's camber, and then that's caster. All right. So I got the other side pulled out. I'm actually going to use the spring compressor this time, take it apart, because the other way is just dangerous and scare the shit out of me. So yeah, we're going to use spring compressor, get this one swapped out, get it thrown back on, and then try to wrap this thing up. All right, so I have the second strut assembled and mounted to the car, but in the process putting this strut together, I think I actually screwed something up on the other side. So I'm gonna have to pull that strut off and explain. So give me a second and I will let you guys know what I did. All right, so I have the strut pulled back off to explain what I think is wrong. I looked through the instructions a couple times and I did not see a mention of this. It tells you, so these are the spacers that come with the kit, right, with the camber plates. It tells you what order to put those spacers in. It does not mention this metal cup. Now this is the stock piece. It goes on the bottom of the original, strut mount, and it doesn't say whether or not this gets reused. It doesn't mention anything about the dust boot. All it says is it mentions the bump stop and that you have to use the bump stop. But what made me question whether or not this should be in here, this is not a machined surface, right? The top of this, the top of the strut, this is a flat machined surface. So in my mind, these spacers need to sit up against that machined surface. And then another thing that made me question that is it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of thread for the strut, for the nut on this side. So I'm pretty sure that metal cup is not supposed to be there. So Maximum Motorsports, if you happen to watch this, could you please clarify that in your instructions? So I'm gonna get this side thrown back together and back on the car. All right, so both front struts are back in correctly this time, I hope. I got the bolts are all just kind of snugged up by hand. They're not torqued yet. We're gonna have to check out the alignment, possibly move them once we get it set back down on the ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift it up a little bit more, torque all the strut bolts, reinstall the brake line, or the clip on the brake line, clip on the ABS sensor, retighten the sway bar end links, and then we can throw the wheels back on and set it down on the ground. All right, so here it is back on the ground. Just did a quick alignment, just set the toe, just so I can drive it home. I don't have stuff here to do a full alignment. I don't have my string. I need some ramps to be able to get it in the front end. So I will do that probably tomorrow if it's not raining. Weather's looking kind of crappy right now. So it'll get me home. You know, the steering wheel's not straight, but I got about 3 miles to drive, so it'll be fine. Looks so much better. It looked pretty terrible before, but this looks pretty good. Obviously these tires are kind of short for this car. These are 315/30 18s, so they're only about 25.5 inches tall, I believe. Or the stock tires on this car would be, I think they're actually a little bit over 27 inches tall, so about 1.5 inches taller. Which the other set of wheels I have, I'm probably gonna do I'm gonna do like a 285/35 on those. So they will be a little bit taller and fill out that wheel well a little bit better, but it definitely looks better than it did. So I'm gonna have to recenter the rear axle. That's why we got the adjustable panhard bar. See, it's pretty much sitting flush on this side. Come over here, sticking out a little bit. So that's what lowering it does. Changes the arc of the swing of the panhard bar and pushes it over to one side. So we'll be able to recenter that when we do the alignment. But for right now, calling it good. I'm gonna get home so I can watch the Packers game tonight. Watch them hopefully beat up on the Saints. So thanks for watching.